Hello everyone, welcome to the Aladin Show. I hope you're having an amazing day, or good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Today, I've got an amazing guest and it's going to be an amazing show. But before I introduce her, I would love everybody who's watching to like this show and also share it with your family members, friends, and I'm sure they will benefit from just listening to the show today. I've got other shows on this page. Please, you could watch. It's so many topics and it will be really beneficial for the whole family listening. So again, thank you for watching. And today, as I said, I've got a lovely guest. Her name is Cathie Way. I've known Cathie for many years. We've worked together and we've actually done a couple of shows. We've been in BBC and other few other things, and we're used to sitting like this and having a wee chat and having fun. Fun is the main thing. So before Cathie comes on and shares her wonderful knowledge and experience, I'll give you a bit of background about Cathie. Well, Cathie's motto in life is, as I said, she's a fun lady. If ain't fun, then don't do it. That's exactly what I believe as well. That's why we get on so well. Cathie is a highly engaging, enthusiastic training consultant working with organizations and individuals. She is a social entrepreneur helping people to improve their personal well-being, career, and their relationship at work and at home as well. She has a particular interest in helping women and young people to reach their full potential through 3 topics: leadership, management, business skills, and health and safety welfare. She's been actually traveling around the country and around the world, so she will share that with it. And she's also a granny, yes. And today we're going to talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people. And it's actually from an author called Stephen Covey. She's actually very passionate about, she's been teaching his kind of his particular principles. That's it. Thank you, Cathie. Principles, and she's going to share that with us today. Welcome, Cathie.
Thank you, Aladin. It's lovely to see you again.
It's lovely to see you as well. And as I said, we've kind of known each other for a while, quite a few years, and you're really passionate about helping a lot of people. You've been kind of do a lot of traveling, as I said, but you will share that with us.
I will. I'm happy to do that with you today.
And I just want to say thank you for coming on and thank you for giving your time. And I know time is very valuable for people, but thank you for coming on in short notice and kind of thing.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So today we're going to talk about 7 habits of highly effective people. So tell me more about how you came across this. Who's Stephen Covey?
Stephen Covey. Yeah. Stephen Covey is an amazing teacher. Unfortunately, he has passed now, but Stephen Covey is one of those authors who actually changed my life. He changed my life through me reading his books, but not just reading his books, but I think that his was one of the first personal development books that I actually picked up, read it, and implemented what he was saying. And up until that point, I think maybe for about 10 years, I was picking books up, reading them and putting them back on the shelf. So I think they call that shelf help instead of self-help.
That's good.
So taking his book, and I always tell people he changed my life just by the habits that he introduced me to. There are a few that are my favourites that I try to make sure that I do every single day. But his 7 habits are so simple, I think that anybody could implement them. He actually has written not just a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but he's also translated that into a book for teenagers.
Yes.
He's translated it into a book for leaders and for others as well. So whichever way people learn, they can get access to that book for the stage of their life that they're at. And it's available in audio, it's available on paper, and it's available online. And there's lots and lots of YouTube videos. So people can pick up on this afterwards and really get their teeth into it should they wish to.
Yeah, I remember listening to him years and years ago. I didn't really know much about him, but today I was actually listening to his videos on YouTube, as you said. He's an amazing guy, amazing, and his principles, and just following those is so simple that anybody could use it.
Yeah, it's been taught in schools in America, in the primary schools. So, if young people who are ages 7 and upwards are doing it, then I'm sure we as adults can translate it as well, make use of it.
Thank you. Well, I wanted just to say to the audience there, people watching, is that if you want to ask any questions, Cathie's here to answer. So if you just want to put something in the comments, it'll pop up. But if we can't get back to you, I'm sure Cathie will go back and go through all the messages and she'll get back to you about all the answers. So thank you. Let's start with the first one. What's the first principle? Okay,
so the first of his 7 habits are to be proactive. Now, that can be translated into a number of different ways. We think of proactivity as somebody who goes out there searching ahead of the things that they need. So if I want to, for instance, get a new job, then by using his proactive habit, then I wouldn't just sit at home, watch TV and expect a job to come to me. I would take some action to do that. So I'd be looking up to see what kind of job I wanted to do. I'd research the companies that I'm going to apply to, and I would get maybe some professional help from the people in the job centre to write the right CV for that job. That would be me being proactive. But there's a second element to it as well, and that is not being a defeatist. So if I get a couple of rejection letters, or if I get all rejection letters back from my CVs, from my proactive work, then the key is for me not to lie down and say, that's it, I'm never going to get a job. A proactive person then will say, do you know what? I didn't get that job, but let's go for another one and find out what it is that I'm doing wrong to go for the next one. So that's what proactivity is about as far as Stephen Covey's concerned.
Yeah, because I was watching his videos, and it was proactive and reactive, and be more reactive to the what's happening in the world as well. And I know my experience in the past, what I've done is like, maybe things that are happening in the world, even financial situation or economic things, people say because of that reason, I can't get a job, because there's no jobs around, and we seem to be reactive to the society or things that are happening, whereas proactive would be like, okay, forget, just maybe ignoring, saying, you know what, there's so many jobs out there.
Yeah,
and I'm going to
there are jobs out there.
There are jobs out there.
It's about that positive attitude and saying, well, I didn't get that job, but I know I'm going to get a job. If I just keep going, I know I'm going to get the right job. So I'm a great believer in combining these two things. I think we had a conversation around, well, if you have that positive mental attitude, you're bound to get something. And the more you focus on your proactivity, you're bound to get the thing that you really want, despite what's happening in the world. And we can't blame what else is going on out there, because the only thing that we are responsible for are our own actions. Yeah,
that's the thing. We need to take responsibility of our own actions, our thoughts. I suppose proactive is also, it's about taking control of our thoughts, that what we think and what we believe. So that's something that is very interesting, because that's something that I've been kind of, with other guests, we were talking on the shows about how we should take responsibility rather than blaming others for our society that we're not moving forward, or the situation that we're in. So I think that's what he's saying. Responsibility to take care of that.
Someone else, if I can introduce another teacher here, Jack Canfield talks about a formula that is E plus R equals O. And the way he translates that is the event plus the response equals the outcome. So the event could be that, everybody gets made redundant. In a business. It really depends on the response of the people who are getting made redundant as to what the outcome is going to be. And if I respond positively and say, well, that's good, I'm going to be getting 3 years' wages, I can take that now and I can make my own business. Whereas there will be other people who will be saying that's a fait accompli, oh my goodness me, oh woe is me, and I'm not, please, I do empathise with people who are being made redundant, and I know it's not always possible to have that attitude at the time, but the more positive the attitude, the more better the outcome.
Yeah, that's why. As I said, you said it's possibly for us easy to say that, but being in that situation is quite difficult to shift the
But it can be shifted. You can look for the silver lining.
Yeah, yeah. Because what I think is like, rather than either way, either going to stay in that side of being negative and looking in the world that way, or staying in a positive. I might as well stay in that side than go, because at the end of the day, it's more likely things will change than staying on the other side of being negative.
And by remaining positive, you're actually feeding your body positive energy, and you're more likely to be healthy.
Oh yeah. So I was just saying that, you know, Dr. Limpton, that's another person that maybe you could have a look at on YouTube. He's a scientist, and he was saying how by, you know, thinking positively affects our body, and he's a very well known. So you can maybe have a look at that as well. So what's the second one?
So his second habit is to begin with the end in mind, and that really is all about vision.
Vision.
Yeah, it's about vision. So if I want to achieve something, then I have to think about what is it that I want to achieve, and have a picture of it in my brain. And by having a picture of it in my brain, that will help me to take the steps to get there. So it's a wee bit like if I want to go from here to Bangladesh, Aladin, then I have to really know that it's Bangladesh that I'm going to or aiming for, because otherwise I might end up in Timbuktu. And so by having that end in mind, I can take the proper steps and be proactive about making these things happen for me. So it's about having that vision, having a positive vision, and if my road changes along the way, being positive and proactive about, well, where do I need to go to now? I might not be able to get from A to B, but I might be able to get A, B, C, D in order to get to my end result. So it's about having that vision first of all. Nobody builds a house without the plans. I don't think they do anyway nowadays.
Oh, I think you do.
So you need to have the plans, don't you? You need to have the plans to see where your foundations are going to go, and then where the bricks are going to go, and where you're going to put your windows, etc., etc. So it's a wee bit like building a house. Begin with the end in mind.
So as you say, it's like building a house. But you might have different builders in the process of coming in and out, so you don't know.
That's absolutely right.
So,
and one of the other things that Stephen Covey says about that habit as well is that he asks you to ask yourself a question, and the question is, you're at your own funeral. What is it that you would like people to say about you, Aladin, or me, Cathie, you know, at that funeral? And it's like, well, are the steps that I'm taking now with the end in mind? Am I acting in the right way in order to get that result? So it's more about a journey. It's less about a journey than it is about how do I take myself there? What do I put into the world? What do I put into my community? What do I do in order to make this world a richer place? And that's the end in mind.
Yeah, I don't know what people would write about me actually. I like to know what you're going to write about me. Write down in a comment below. I would love to know. But yeah, you're right. Is giving value. I think he was saying something about giving value to the world, doing something that will make a change, or being passionate in that way, rather than kind of focusing, okay, I'm doing this because of money. I want to do, you know, that's what you're saying. Have something that is more kind of spiritual belief in, or so that's very interesting. I think I do believe that. I think that if you even think that way, you enjoy your journey as well. If you give value, and I know that you give a lot of value to a lot of people.
I'm loving my journey.
You know, I see you've been traveling a lot of places. I remember Cathie saying to me, she says, I like to travel. I like to see the world, and that's exactly what she's doing.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the night that I said to you, how do I get myself to Bangladesh? And then 5 minutes later I was booked up to go to Bangladesh.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened very quickly, that I went to Bangladesh, yeah. So what's the third habit?
Okay, his third habit is about prioritising, and it's called put first things first. And that's the one that changed my life. Because up until then, at work and at home, I had a very busy work and life situation that I was trying to juggle everything. And I used to sort of flip from one thing to another, and also say yes to everything, I have to say, Aladin, which was not the best thing to do at the time either. So what Stephen Covey talks about in Put First Things First is do those things that are really, really important to your mission, to your goal. Do them first. All the other little bits that are a distraction can take you away from that. And so I don't know if we can visualize this, but if you were to draw a box, and within that draw 4 boxes, so you had quadrants, then he talks about the first quadrant being important and urgent. Now that means that is something that's very, very important to you or your mission, and it needs to be done now. So that's like put a pound in the meter, because otherwise the electricity is going to go off in the studio. So that would be important and urgent to do that now. On the right hand side of that would be important, not urgent. So those are all other things that are important to your mission, important to yourself and your health and your welfare, but you don't need to do it immediately. But do it when you can, because otherwise they become urgent, and therefore your urgent box becomes overwhelming. I'm not sure if you know what I mean with that. So the kind of things that I might see in the important non-urgent box are, trawl through the emails that I know I need to read and prioritise them, or go to the gym, or go for a swim, or spend some family time. All of those things are important, but nobody's going to die if I don't do them. But if I don't do a lot of them, they are going to end up either on the other box or my health is going to suffer. And that's an urgent and important. So those are the 2 top boxes that he mentions. And then down below that you have not important but urgent. And you might think, well, why would you do that if it wasn't important? And what that means is that someone else is important, but they're saying to you, can you do this for me? And we often take on other people's responsibilities, and we do that. But we do that at the peril of missing something of our own out. So we really need to feed ourselves first here. We need to do the things that are important to us first. And can you guess what might be in the other box?
That would be non-urgent.
Yeah, not important and not urgent. And that's all our distractions. That's all the rubbish that we take in. And we spend too much time on Facebook, on social media, when we actually should be doing other things. It's not important to our life to do that. And it's certainly not urgent, but it's a distraction. But sometimes we choose to do that in order to settle down a wee bit, but we can get caught up in those kind of things. So that's a box that shouldn't have anything in unless we've got nothing else to do.
Yeah,
that's what really helped me to focus at work and at home, and it started to give me a really strong, healthy work-life balance by using those tips that he gives us in First Things First.
Okay, because when you said that was, as you said, the urgent ones are like you're paying your bills, your mortgage, you need to be in time, all the stuff that we need food in the cupboards, for those kind of things, and other things are like, second one is about, for me would be like urgent, but it's not, as I said, for me it's going to the gym. in the morning and all this,
Yeah.
because I feel good. When I feel good, I could be more effective. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And when I'm eating healthy and, various things you have to do. But yeah, I do understand. So if you follow that and put it into those 4 quadrants, as you said, and just kind of write those things down in your life.
I started by writing them down because it was more helpful to me to say, well, that was my to-do list then. And if you work on the important non-urgent box mainly, that means that they're not going to be flippant. So a little bit like you said, if you don't pay your mortgage by the day that it's due, then it's really going to be going over to the left-hand side, and it's a danger there.
Yeah.
So and then once you get used to that, having written it down a few times, it goes in here mentally, and that's where you put it. And you say, well, I am going to go to the gym today because I know that that's an important but non-urgent, but if I do it now, that means that I can go to bed earlier rather than leave it too late.
Yeah, well,
it's a really effective way of working and prioritising, which is a skill that we all use daily at work and at home.
As you mentioned, writing it down, because I've personally, I know in my head what I have to do, but when I write it down, I seem to do it.
Yeah.
I look at the list and I tick it off and achieve it, whereas I've got in my head, I know I have to do this, but I don't seem to get around to doing it.
That's right. Writing down the action means it is going to get more likely to get done.
Yeah, so I'm used to having this diary old. I know people use the phones, and somehow for me diary's better.
I think I'm an old-fashioned person as well, and I need to write it down in the diary too. It's more of, I don't know. It works for people.
I just feel physical. I know my brain's working when I'm moving my hands. If that finds a bit weird, but when I'm writing, I'm actually repeating processing it better than just typing. I don't know. That's what I do. I'm sure a lot of people out there love their phones and various other technology and notepads and stuff. That's great.
It takes me longer to use the phone than it does to write it down, so it wouldn't be a good principle for me to do that.
The next one, let's talk about the next habit. Think win-win.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Think win-win is an interesting one, especially in business. Because we tend to, in business, think, well, I know what I want and I'm going to go out there and get it. And, where price is involved, all of those sort of things, we might think that I must get the best price for this, or I mustn't pay as much as I need to for this. That's the way a lot of people think in business. But in thinking win-win, we're actually respecting the person that we are negotiating with. So Aladin, if you and I were negotiating and I went into our business meeting thinking, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get Aladin down to, £5.50 instead of £500.50. Then I'm thinking, I want to win and I want you to lose. On the other side of it, I might go into you and say, I don't mind how much she gets it from me. I'll even do it for nothing. Then what I'm saying then is, I don't mind being losing and I don't mind you winning. Okay, so you won, I lost. Whereas if we go into a respectful meeting together and negotiate and say, well, what would work for both of us? Let's see what we could both get out of this. That means that we're both walking away happy. Now, I think that that's a really good way to work. It's the way that I tend to work nowadays with customers that I have who employ me for training projects. And I know in my head how much I think I'm worth. But I'm also respectful of, I don't know if someone has enough budget for that. And so we'll work together to really, really get the end goal, which is somebody getting an education, somebody getting some new business skills, some new leadership skills, and more importantly for me, the health and safety and welfare skills that people need to keep themselves safe and to keep them earning for their families. So that to me is much more important than how much do I get at the end of the day.
Okay.
So it's about a negotiating tool. But what Stephen Covey also says is that it's also okay to walk away with a no deal. And I know that's very topical at the moment, but we won't mention the B word. But it is okay in that business to say, well, I don't want you to be a loser and I don't want to be a loser, so let's just not do it. Yeah? So it wouldn't work for us.
5 minutes.
Oh, we need to get on with these other habits. Okay.
So no, and that's actually happened.
No, that's okay.
So let's talk about the next habit: seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Well, that's all about listening.
Yeah,
it's about listening, and our ego tends to jump in when we have a conversation with somebody, and I'm sure that we all do this at some point. But our ego jumps in, and I want to tell you about everything. And not give you enough time to speak. Whereas if I really want to get to know you and how you work, then what I'll start off the conversation with is tell me all about it and give you the opportunity to speak first. And that way I will understand much more where you're coming from, and it will be a better interaction between the two of us. So if you listen first, that's you seeking to understand. If you listen first, give that person their say, and then you're more likely to be able to get your point across because you've listened to them. So it's another lovely one.
It's a lovely one. As you said, listening is the key to be understood.
Absolutely. So listen first,
So what's the next one? Synergy.
It's synergizing. So, Aladin, that's about getting more out of something by two people or more coming together. You can do a great job. I can do a great job, but together we do a fantastic job.
Yes.
Yeah, or whatever way you're working. So the more people that you involve, the more of the right people that you involve. So it's like 1 and 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 22. You get 22 times worth the value of what you're doing if you work together towards your goal.
It's about
and finally
sharpen the saw.
Well, really, that is really about looking after yourself. And I think that's the message that I'd like to give to everybody out there, is that if we don't look after ourselves and our bodies, we won't be able to do any of these things that we want to do. So sharpening the saw is about educating yourself. It's about going on a course to learn new things, but it's also about taking care of yourself. So it's rest and relaxation, recuperation from what you're doing, because we can't all go out there full tilt every day to do the things that we do. So instead of working harder, work smarter and be kind to yourself.
That's it, be kind to yourself. There's one other thing I want you to quickly go over. I know we've nearly run out of time. Stephen Covey was talking about personality and character. And the character is the key, because now we look at social media and we want to be somebody else, and we're pretending to be somebody else, or people saying, and we're kind of focus on how we look, and it's all about how we dress. But what about the character side? The root is your character, isn't it? So quickly.
Yeah, it's more really about, it's that begin with the end in mind thing. So if you want to have a good and happy and healthy life, then it all starts with your roots. So you need to feed yourself the good stuff. It begins at the roots, and then that brings out to the shoots, etc., and to the leaves. And it's what you produce at the end of the day, your cherries or your apples or whatever, are your gift to the world.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's a gift to the world. So to me, the root was understand is, as you said, kind of look after yourself, but also about being honest, integrity and all that is so important. That's a root, because when we want to interact or synergize with other people, connect with other people, we're looking for that people's character rather than people's personality, how they are shown, and maybe people pretend to be somebody else, but their character could be different. So it's finding synergy of the right. To me, as when I'm working with people, it has to be the character rather than the personality.
It's somebody being authentic, and also one of my other teachers talks about it as being congruence. So your whole body and being has to have it all running through it, because otherwise you won't produce what you need to produce.
And Yeah, teach what you need to become first before you teach it somebody else. So, as you said, be authentic, and that's how you're going to. People will then naturally come towards you, naturally towards that. So, and you do that. You work on yourself, self-develop. I love working on myself. I think we never stop becoming the best version of ourselves.
Yeah,
most
every day is a school day. And it's the best school ever.
The best school, yes. But unfortunately, now quickly, and you're a granny. Tell me about quickly.
I'm a granny to Olive, and I'm absolutely delighted. And Olive is a beautiful rescue fur baby dog that we took into our home just a couple of weeks ago, and I am just besotted. So thank you, universe, for bringing me Olive. She's a dream.
Oh, that is lovely, lovely. I'm sure you've got some photos on your Facebook page.
I
of
have,
Olive.
yes. I have.
Yeah, so if you want to have a go on to Cathie's Facebook. If you've got any questions for Cathie, we've run out of time. Please comment below and she will get back to you. And she's on Facebook, Cathie Way. So if you want to message her and ask her any questions, please do. I'm sure is that okay? I'm just telling you.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
But we've run out of time. But I just want to say to everybody, thank you for watching, especially to my lovely guest, Cathie, for coming on today and sharing her knowledge and her beautiful energy, and just, I'm 100% sure that people that are watching could also feel the energy.
Yeah,
and you've definitely have, I'm sure they've kind of taken things away and can actually implement it in their own life. But I'd like to say to everybody out there, thank you for coming on, thank you for watching my show. As I said, you are the ones who are actually empowering me to do the shows every day. Please like and share. Please share with people, your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The more people who watch it, more people will benefit. We all together working as a team to make a world a better place. So thank you for coming on, and please join me next week. I've got a lovely guest on next week. I will post it on my page and then post on what we're going to talk about next week. So thank you again. Thank you for coming on, and have a lovely evening. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
If you have a dream